Boating ain't easy. All right, so you got your Veles out of the box. Well, now what? Let's go over a few things that you really should do before you throw this in the water. Just boat stuff. So we're coming to the back of the boat here. We're gonna, kind of like we did in the other video, but this is a little more high performance boat, so we're gonna do a little extra stuff. Basically, we wanna make sure all these connections are tight. So that's good, good. So just going over, oh, that must have needed a little bit, so that was good. I tightened up a little bit. That one, nice. Yep. So the rudder assembly holding it to the strut. That's feeling really nice. Let's check these over here. So this is the actual rudder attachment bolt, very tight, nice. And then we got another one right here. The ball. All right, yeah, that's good. Okay, couple real important things we need to do. We need to make sure the bottom of the strut here is level with the sponsons, okay? Sponsons are the two sides of the cat here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna place it on the table. Now me and Mary already did kind of an off-camera check, and it is not level. So you can see the strut is hanging down below the boat, see? See, the strut is the high point, so I'm rocking it. So yeah, sure, you could run the boat, but you might get a little too much lifting action in the nose. So what we want to do, we're gonna loosen this strut bolt, this main bolt here holding the strut on. You want to adjust this. We'll loosen that up. Now you see that? Your strut can go up and down now, right there. So let's put it back on the table. Now, you know, some of these boats out of the box, they come better than others. Look at that. So I'm just holding the boat down. So see because the stuffing tube's kind of got a little spring to it. So I'm holding the boat down. Might have Mary hold the boat down. Can you just hold the boat, like push? Yeah, right there. All right, so let's tighten this up and then see where we're at. So you can see we raised that strut a little bit. There we go. All right, Mary can let go. So we raised that strut up. You can see it's kind of sticking up a little, but it needed that. So now the strut is level with the bottom of the sponson. So that's already gonna give us an advantage right out of the box. Another thing we wanna check for is propeller balance. So let's get that prop out. You can see this is just a casted piece of metal. So we wanna make sure that it balances. So we got our balancer here. So let's get the prop off. So it's an 8mm. We'll undo the prop nut. Okay, set the nut in the washer there. So already I can feel there's like some kind of slag or whatever you want to call it from the casting. You can see there's a nub there on the back. If I can catch my finger on it. So we're definitely gonna smooth that out with a file. Let's get this on the balancer. So we got our Dubrow balancer here. Really cool balancer. Great for boat props, airplane propellers, quadcopter, really anything. So you can see the two cones, even though this isn't the same size shaft, the cones will center it. There we go. There we go. So you can see how it doesn't stop where I want it to. So that means this. Yeah, right here. This is the heavy side right here. See how it hangs down every time? So we can take a Sharpie. It's hard to keep track of which one's which. So I'll put it on the back side of the propeller, just a dot. And by the way, that's where you're gonna wanna remove material from the back of the propeller, never the front. The front is what keeps that cup. So let's make sure that same one, yeah, so you can see there's my dot. Yeah, so that's definitely the heavy side. So we gotta, basically, we're gonna take a little bit off on this back side, never on the front, because you're gonna change the shape of that pitch. So I'm just gonna get rid of that little nub I was telling you about. You can hear it catching the file. Yeah, so I got that little nub off. All right, now let's check the balance again. It's not that far off, believe it or not. This one's not that bad. I've seen a lot of people's Veles 29 props were actually pretty bad. Yeah, we're not taking off much. You can see it's just kind of shiny there now. Wore away my marker. So it's still a little heavy. Like I said, this one's pretty close, but that same blade ends up at the bottom every time. Take a little more off. But this will take any vibrations out of your whole driveline assembly. You know, the flex cable, it'll prevent flex cable whip. Get smoother running boat, prolong the life of your motor, prolong the life of your stuffing tube. You just want to try and make this run as smooth as possible. See how every time it's getting slower and slower for that heavy blade to, so actually, it's actually not falling down as fast every time now. So now it's actually staying horizontal. See that? We're very, very close. So here's my heavy blade right here. I should be able to leave it sitting up, but it wants to fall. Yeah, we just gotta keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
See how close we're getting, guys? So this is the heavy blade right here. It's almost staying at the top. A little more. We are close. There it is.
Yay.
So you can see, here's the heavy blade. It stays at the top. My finger's shaking. It stays pretty much right there. Stays pretty much right there. Here's the light blade on the top now. That'll stay up top. The light blade will stay. Basically, you can kind of put it anywhere. It's very difficult to balance something this small, but you can see, here's the heavy blade on top again now. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with that. That is way better. And once again, let me scoop up all my metal shavings here. Put it in the middle of one of these squares. So there's the metal that we took off. So if you guys can see that pile of metal, that is not much. But that's what it took to get this, our Veles 29's prop in balance. So let's get this off. Yeah, that's nice and smooth too, because that's a very fine file. Let's put this back on the boat, and then we're gonna pull the stuffing tube out and give it the grease. All right, let's put this back on. We got our lock washer, guys. 8mm on the Veles. That's nice and tight. All right, so another thing you want to check, and it does say this in the manual, by the way, but this is something that's very important. And ours came up set up perfect out of the box. So right here, so you can see there's a Teflon washer right here, but that's good. But this gap right here between your drive dog and the strut needs to be 2mm, because what happens under heavy power, heavy load, the flex cable actually expands and contracts. So it'll actually suck this in when you give it full throttle. And if you have no gap here, it's gonna bind up and potentially rip it out of the collet up front. And there goes your whole prop and your whole flex shaft into the lake. So it's gonna rip it out. So that's why you need that gap there. So ours came up really perfect out of the box, but we have to take this out and we gotta grease it. So let's do that. Let's get the hatch off. All right, so we got the top popped off. A couple more things to check. The set screw for the motor drive shaft. Make sure that is tight. Some people have had that loose and they go out on their first run. Yeah, that's very tight. Go out on their first run and it comes off, and there goes your stuffing tube and propeller into the lake. So this is something you're gonna be doing very often on any boat, is greasing the stuffing tube. So get used to this, 2 10mm open ends. So you're gonna hold the motor shaft and you're gonna grab the collet and you're gonna loosen the collet. There it goes. So you're just loosening, you're not kind of undoing it all the way. So that's loose. So now, stuffing tube will come out. All right, so a little tight. You might just have to pull on it. This is the first time this one's ever been out, so let's see how little grease is from the factory. Oh, this one actually looks pretty good, but could always use a little more. So it's not bad, not horrible. You can see there's some on there. Just wipe it off, and we're gonna put new stuff on. Like I said, this is the first time I've had this off. That was actually better than the blackjack, to be honest with you. But so we have some marine grease here, and this gets a little messy. So just put your finger in. You can put gloves on, obviously, if you want, but it's just a messy job no matter how you do it. All right, so we got a good amount of grease on there. You can put a little bit, kind of little glob right here, and just kind of force it into the hole. Something I noticed in the manual, I said when you're putting this in, once you get the top of it up to the collet, they said don't spin it to the left. If you look at the threads, or I shouldn't say the threads, the windings of the flex shaft, you can see if we go left, it's gonna potentially grab a strand in the collet. So when you're putting this in, only go to the right. Now, of course, once the collet's all tightened down, that's a different story because that's the way it spins. But just when it's not tightened down, they don't want you spinning it left. So we're spinning right. You can see that all that excess grease is coming out, but it guarantees a nice grease seal in there because it's making a huge grease dam. Okay, everything's looking really good. I'm gonna keep spinning. There, you can see it just went in, but we want to keep going, so we're gonna keep pushing. So we've got grease in our stuffing tube. Let's get that 2mm gap, and then we're gonna tighten this up. So before you tighten up the collet, make sure that 2mm gap is back. Go to your millimeter side on your ruler. You'll get to the point where you can just eyeball it. I don't know if you see that, but that is 2mm right there. Grab your 2 10mm wrenches. We're gonna tighten this collet back up. Don't go too tight because you probably could break that, but it's definitely tight. All right, everybody, so that's looking good. One last thing here is we gotta power it up for the first time. Just make sure the rudder works the way it's supposed to, and everything should be good. Let's power it up. So we just got our 4S setup plugged in. We're gonna be running this on 4S and 6S, so here's just a 4S setup for now. Okay, and there is a little switch, there it is. All right, there we go, 4 beeps for 4S. All right, so right is correct. That makes the boat go right. It's just like a rudder on a plane. So the rudder always goes to the right for right, left is left. All right, looks good. So now you can see this boat is very, very sensitive on steering, especially when you get going high speeds. That is a lot of rudder. Look at all that rudder. You don't ever use that much. So we got a cool feature on this, steering rates. So you can dial down the steering rates. Let's go all the way to 0. So you can see full steering wheel, barely moves that rudder. So this is something we're gonna be playing with. With those high speeds, you don't wanna be doing full rudder. So I'll start right something like that. Maybe right in the middle-ish. But you can see, if I go full steering rates, that's a lot. So let's go back down kind of the middle. All right, let's do a quick propeller check, make sure it's going the right way. So, the propeller is gonna go counterclockwise. You can see the shape of the blades. It's gonna be hard to tell. Yeah, okay, good. I think she's finally ready for the water. So we just checked the water lines. They look great. We balanced the propeller, so that's really nice. We greased the stuffing tube. We checked that 2mm gap. And I think she's ready. We checked the steering. So yeah, we'll see you at the water next video.